Welcome to this online presentation of Transparent Language for Libraries, brought to you by Recorded Books in partnership with Transparent Language. Transparent Language for Libraries is our new language learning interface. It is a replacement for our very popular Bikey Online program. At initial launch, it will include 89 different languages, so by far the largest number of languages in online language learning in libraries today. It includes courses, grammar video lessons, pronunciation practice. It allows the learner to use 4 different skills: speaking, listening, reading, and writing to learn the material. And as you'll see, there's an all-new interface and organization to the process. Looking at the opening screen here, this is after we've logged in at your library. We have a number of different options here. First is our language selection menu. So as we're dropping down here, we can select any number of 89 languages. This is not a complete list. We're actually showing you a demonstration of our beta site today. If I switch over to a new language, then things will change. As you can see, the Chrome up top goes into the Russian flag colors. The images below will all translate over into the language in the area that I'm learning. So let's go to Spanish for this presentation. We also have down the left-hand side our main navigation screen. So as you can see, we have what we call Bikey Essentials courses, Bikey Quick Start courses, Bikey Vocabulary program, which is our Bikey learning method, and something called Spanish Reference. Spanish Reference has a lot of other different things that you can use about the language to help you learn about the culture. Let's start with Bikey Vocabulary. That's something you probably are all familiar with. We've had this Bikey program out in libraries now for about a year and a half. It's extremely popular. And this is a kind of a refreshment of that learning process that you're very familiar with. As you can see, we have a drop down of a number of different lessons here. The Bikey Vocabulary, again, is for all 89 languages in the Transparent Language program. These are broken down into 155 different lessons consisting of between 1,500 to 2,000 content cards. So you can expect to get a vocabulary in the language that you're learning of somewhere around 1,500 to 2,000 words. We've also changed one significant thing about the Bikey program now is that there is an assessment at the end. It used to be once you finished a Bikey card set, the program recognized that you had learned it. Now you have the ability to take a test for yourself. So let's open up one of the card sets. We'll go to Animals 1, and as you can see, the interface is entirely different now, very fresh and modern. We have our learning objective here listed at the top, so we see all of the names of the animals that we're going to be learning, and we can go ahead and launch our learning program.
El animal.
So looking at this, we have rolling across the bottom here, we have 5 different learning steps initially. So these are the same steps you're familiar with now, where we're actually using the multiple skills to learn. And then we also have integrated now our pronunciation, and then some pronunciation exercises after that. It used to be an a la carte thing in Bikey. Now it's part of the lesson plan. And then at the end we have our assessment where we're going to take a test. So let's look at our first learning module. This is something called Review It.
El oso.
Turn the sound up a little bit.
La abeja.
So right now I'm just flipping through all of the content cards in this section. So I have 8 different items that I'm going to be learning in this Preview It section. Flipping through.
El ave.
So I have, wherever it's appropriate, I have an image of whatever is on the card to associate visually with auditorily. I also have the ability to slow down the pronunciation.
El ave.
So if I click on this turtle icon, I can drag that down.
El ave.
Slows down the pronunciation. Very helpful when you get to some of the phraseology and conversation in this program. I'm also tracking my progress through this first card step. So this review step.
La mariposa.
Is being tracked. Let me set that back up to okay. Alright, so after I've gone through this first step, I'm just getting comfortable with the material. I'm going to go to the second step in the process.
La mosca.
And this is recognize and say it. So now I'm going to be testing myself here to see how much of that content I've retained. I'm going to flip the card. I see if this is a fly. If I got it right, I recognize that I got it right.
El pez.
If I flip the card again, and let's say I did not know that this was fish, or I got it wrong, I say no.
El pez.
And as you see, Bikey gives it back to me right away again. Now Bikey has a an algorithm built into it where it recognizes the cards or the content where I'm struggling to learn. Very much like you would if you were with a teacher in school. The teacher would have you focus more on content that you're struggling to learn than content you get easily. Bikey does that for you. So now I'm going to have to work on this card, this particular card, a lot more. I'm going to see this card a lot more. I'll have to work on a lot more than I did any other card that I got right. So Bikey has a great learning algorithm built into it. I can move
La
over.
rana.
And again, I'm tracking my progress over here as I'm moving through. Going to the next step. So
El pollo.
we've been using listening skills, we've been using visual skills. Now we're going to use motor skills to learn the language. So I'm going to be typing the answer here, and I believe this is chicken. Let's see if it is. And you see here, if there's any kind of punctuation, Bikey is going to bring up some options here that I can type on. If there was a little accent mark there, I could type that, but there isn't in this particular exercise.
El pollo.
I got that right. So moving on to the next step, I can continue on. Again, progress being tracked here. Bikey's going to keep track of all of my progress. It's going to give me a way to refresh after a period of time, which I think is a very important step in the Bikey process. When I come back to Transparent Language for Libraries, I'll have the ability to review content that I've learned before, refresh on it, and then really start back where I left off. Okay, let's look at our next step. This is probably the most important step. This is called produce and say it. So I'm actually producing the language that I'm learning here. So mariposa.
La mariposa.
La mariposa. I'm going to give myself a right on that. Okay, so once I've gone through that card set, there is one more that I need to do. And this is, I'm actually going to be produce and write it in the Spanish language that I'm learning. So as you can see here, el gato, type that.
El gato.
And I got it right. Now there's, if you're learning in a language that has a keyboard, let's see, that is very specific if it doesn't use the Latin language. So I'm very fortunate with Spanish that it uses the Latin language here. It's not going to be a very difficult keyboard for me. I'm going to switch over, and as you can see, the keyboard has changed over. Now I don't have to hunt and peck here. This actually maps over automatically to the keyboard on my computer. So I can actually minimize that and type and be able to have the right keyboard. Okay, we have a few other exercises. I'll show you this first one, pronunciation. If you remember, old Bikey used to have pronunciation sort of as an a la carte. Now it's integrated into the learning program. So I'm going to go ahead and record my voice here. We have to allow this the first time. El animal. So I have my saved recording. I'll listen to it.
El animal.
Okay, not happy with that. I'm going to record again. El animal. So I can get rid of that one.
El animal.
Like in this one. So I'm going to save it. I'm going to move on to the next
El
one.
oso.
El oso. And if I want to record it again, I can. El oso. And I can scroll down, listen to this recording,
El oso.
or the one that I had before this.
El oso.
I'm going to go ahead and save that one and move on to the
La abeja.
So these recordings will all be saved for me, and I can go back and record them or listen to them from time to time if I wish. Okay, so we have another two other different dictation, a dictation listening exercise, and another multiple choice listening exercise, and then finally we have our assessment.
El gato.
And this uses all the different
El
skills.
pato. La rana. La mosca.
Okay, so I'm going to select that, move on to the next.
La abeja.
Okay, so I'm getting these
El
right.
oso.
Okay, all right, so at the end of this, I'm going to be using all these skills, and at the end, I'm going to get a score. I have to get a score of 70 or above to pass. You can actually move on to the next lesson if you want to, but it does give you some direction on to go back and review principles that you've gotten wrong initially in your test. Okay, so that is the Bikey learning method. Very quick overview. Let's look at Bikey Quick Start. Bikey Quick Start will be available in 57 languages. These are 10 different lessons. They each have about between 10 to 15 different things that I'm going to be learning. These are quick start words and phrases, useful words and phrases designed for the avid traveler or the casual learner, using the exact same process here of learning the multi-step Bikey process. It's just more focused content. If you're a traveler, everything in here is about travel and how to get around and communicate with people in the country there where you are.